Former federal prosecutor and former assistant United States Attorney for the Northern District of Georgia, Francey Hakes, joins me in studio, and former U.S. Attorney for the Northern District of Alabama, Jay Town, joins me. Francey, first to you. I'm sure that you sent out target letters. I'm sure Jay did. Am I wrong in my description of target letters?
No, you're dead right. I mean, Trump would be crazy to respond to the target letter, respond to the information and the invitation in it, and go in and testify in front of the grand jury, which is what, of course, Jack Smith wants. It's what they always want, because when you're the subject of a target letter, it means the prosecutor has built the case, right? The evidence is there, and really all they're waiting for now is for you to come in and either admit or deny or fail to come in at all, and then they'll tell the grand jury that they invited you and you didn't show up.
Jay, in your years of experience, did anyone take the bait and be so stupid? And I was a criminal defense lawyer for years, but when you get a target letter, I mean, that says, we're going to get you, that comes in and wants to talk to a grand jury.
There's a few, Greta, and good to see both you and Francey tonight. You let in with how stupid can they be. I loved it when they showed up. If anything, at trial, their story is locked in. As a career prosecutor, I knew the questions to ask, or my AUSAs did when I was U.S. attorney. So it did help the case typically because they're locked into their story. When we know so much more, they don't know what we know. They don't know what the witnesses have told us or what the documents that we've subpoenaed have told us. So it typically works out very favorably for the government. And you're right, Donald Trump's not going to appear before the grand jury anytime soon. And if I was advising him, I would tell him not to. Doesn't mean he's not going to make a speech tomorrow all about it, though.
Though, Francey, it's almost to me, though, grandstanding by a prosecutor, because another way that this could be handled, and the way it's oftentimes handled in my practice law, is that the prosecutor would say to me, look, we're probably going to indict your client. And if you want to come in and talk to him, you can. But instead, someone sat down at a typewriter and on the Department of Justice letterhead and special counsel and sends it out. Now, of course, it was President Trump who leaked it. But what a waste of time.
Well, it's a waste of time. But what they should have done, Greta, is what really good prosecutors do when they know that their target is never going to come in and talk to the grand jury. They could have asked for a proffer. And that would have been the sensible course of action, because it all would have been secret, other than Trump potentially leaking it. But they could have said to his lawyers, come in and give us a proffer. What would he say to these allegations? And that is protected. Unlike testifying in front of the grand jury, which if he does and he's found to lie, could result in more charges. Whatever his lawyer tells the prosecutors is protected. And so they could really hash it out. What are you alleging? Oh, here would be our defense to that. That is not how it happened.
And I think it's end game, don't you, Jay, that the indictment is forthcoming on the, this is like, why would you send a target letter and ask for comments? I mean, you don't talk to Trump first. You want to talk to the key person last. So they've talked to everybody else. They're ready to go. They're ready to pull the trigger.
Yes, you're 100% right. And what I don't like about the way the prosecution of Donald Trump, the way it's sort of unfolded, to Francey's point, Donald Trump his lawyers could have done a proffer, but the government could have also done what's called a reverse proffer, which is to, here's the case against your client. Here's the proofs that we believe we can prove beyond a reasonable doubt. What are your defenses to that? Show us where we're wrong, and let's maybe tighten this thing up a little bit. This is the former president of the United States. Half the country is believing or more that there is a two-tier justice system right now. This is incredibly important to use our discretion as prosecutors wisely in this case in particular. And it sure doesn't feel like that. Like, I understand that nobody's above the law, and we hear that constantly. But we also have to remember that we cannot afford to have all the equities of the justice system destroyed to prosecute one man.
I always, as I say, Francey, I think like a defense lawyer still, and I think, well, how would I defend this case? And this is about the January 6th case and whether or not the president incited something. You know how I would try it? I would go out and get every single violent protest. Every time, Portland burned or anything else, I'd pull every single comment by every politician about it, even though it may have been after the protests. If it's after the protest, the crime is accessory after the fact, encouraging, and maybe encouraging more. I would pull every single video of everybody everything that anyone said in this country about protests.
Well, you had Chuck Schumer standing in front of the Supreme Court telling Justice Kavanaugh, we're coming for you. And what happened just days later? Someone went for Kavanaugh and his family, armed to the teeth, apparently with things like bracelets, intending to tie up his family and kill him. So where are the charges against Schumer? I think it's fairly easy to defend this case.
It's all the sort of, go ahead.
I was just going to say, any charges related to the speech at the Ellipse are not going to withstand any constitutional scrutiny. I think that if Jack Smith is smart, he's going to focus only on the false electors or the contingent electors and sort of the conspiracy and the false statements.
I think he's talking about January 6th and whether or not Trump incited it. But if you're going to do that, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. You pull out everything, and what Francey just said about Chuck Schumer, about Kavanaugh, and someone shows up at his house with a knife.
Yeah, and well,
a gun.
Yeah, and Francey's 100% right. You know, if this is a crime, then that is a crime. That's why I think maybe Smith has gone down a different road with just the 1001 and the 371 charges. But you know, I still wish that Donald Trump was not facing any indictment. I just think it's bad for the entire criminal justice system. I mean, Francey, you deal with this a lot. I don't understand why that equity is not being sort of weighed here more heavily.
No, Jay's got a great point. You are talking about discretion, and that's something prosecutors have at every level. I had it when I was assistant DA. I had it when I was an assistant U.S. attorney. And the discretion here at every level of prosecutors who've brought charges against President Trump when they don't bring charges on the other side or on the other team looks bad, and it really makes people question the justice system, and I worry about the consequences of that.
Francey Hakes, Jay Town, thank you both. Always nice to see you.
Thanks,
Greta.